We've been going for like 2 hours right now. Just I want to get one more question. Some people listen to the podcast that want to go in the SEAL teams, and any sort of thought on what they should be thinking about when they're trying to get in or trying to go. They ask me all the time. I always say real simple stuff. Like, hey, do a bunch of pull-ups, push-ups, dips, swim, run, and don't quit. And that's how you make it into the SEAL teams. Then when you get into SEAL teams, work your ass off.
Well, you get all those kids up at the pre-training up at Great Lakes, physically fit, perfect. And it's the mental thing. It's you got to take each day at a time when you get there. And if you finish that day, be real happy, then hit the next day and keep going on. Don't look ahead of what you got to do. But it's like when I was second time I was a bud instructor, I was a master at arms, and I'd get all these guys in, and I'd tell them, if you want to do everything we want to do and have the easy life, go EOD. If you think you're going to be a diver and a working diver, I said, go be a diver. And I told them, if you want to be cold, wet, and miserable, then go in the SEALs. But I will say one thing, even going through BUDS, and you can probably attest to this, that just gets you into the teams, and then you deploy, and that's where you pull from what you experienced in BUDS.
Yeah.
Rather, where you have to push yourself to the nth. Like there again, too, in 69, we were doing this, when I was with the Kilo Platoon, we were going to set up this ambush on this river. We had to go through about a click and a half of mangrove shit, and that's where it was all gray and shit from Agent Orange and shit. I was up to my knees in mud, up to my waist in water, and when you're holding your weapon up high enough to keep it out of the water, and you go for about a click and a half in that shit, using just compass, because we didn't have GPSs and all that shit, and you kept going till you ran into the stream or whatever you're going to set it up on. You had a strain headache so bad your fucking eyes were crossed, and you're breathing in mosquitoes in your mouth and spitting them out and shit like that. That's
That's
you
the
do that and you
teams.
come back and drink beers and pat poopers, you're good to go. Or you're in Korea and in Pohang, and you got to hit this target, but you got to go over about 3 mountain ridges, because you can't run the ridges in Korea. You got to go up and down them, and come out of a submarine and land on the beach, and it's cold, and you're kind of covering while one guy's trying to take off his wetsuit, and he's falling down till he gets it off. Then you do it, and you get about halfway up the first mountain ridge before you start getting warm. That's when you find out if you got it or not. The bottom line is we complete the mission,
Yeah.
That's what we do no matter what. But like I say, BUDS, Hell Week, all that shit just gets your mind in the right place to know that, well, goddamn, I went through Hell Week. I can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And other things like the 5-mile swim and all that stuff. And that's all.
Yeah.
It's just it's more. I've seen when I was an instructor, great big guys that were football players fall out and quit. And I've seen little skinny guys that you'd laugh at and thinking this guy's going to be a SEAL, and he makes it through.
Mm-hmm.
It's all because of up here in his mind, Yeah. Do you agree? I mean, does that
Yeah,
sound...
and I've always, the BUDS is a screening process, and you don't actually learn much in BUDS. It just gets rid of the people that don't want to be there, and the real test comes when when you get into combat, because going into being cold, wet, and miserable for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days and training and doing a bunch of push-ups doesn't compare to what you were just talking about
or
of being
I think of the sand and the heat and all that shit that you went through. I mean, I don't like the desert. And I don't like cold in the mountains. You give me the jungle anytime, and I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, I don't like mosquitoes, so I'll take the desert or the mountains. But those are the things, I always say that, or I always talk about seeing my guys lined up to go out in Ramadi, and their Humvees are lined up. And like, if I wasn't going on the op, it was just like a platoon was going out, and I'd stand there, I'd salute them. Like, as they were leaving, I'd just stand out there and salute them as they were rolling out. And what it takes to be the lead turret gunner in the first Humvee is more than what it takes to get through BUDS. That guy who knows that there's been, an IED on the road he's about to drive by, there's been 7 to 10 IEDs a day on that road. And he's the lead turret gunner, and he's going to roll out again, and he did it the night before, and he did it the week before, and he did it the night before that. That's what the test is. And
plus that reminds me of when I was on that Boston Whaler too. Where is he? He's up at the top, right? What can people see? Him.
Yep.
Any rockets or anything like that, you know where it's going to go.
Yep.
Yeah. Because they're going to want to stop that from shooting, you know what I mean? But just an example, I mean, like when I was in Subic, we'd take in Subic is pretty neat because the topography there was, you go from triple canopy jungle down to mangrove to where the lower Mal was, which was their fuel place and stuff. Well, I'd take my guys up to the, about 4 or 5 of them, up to the hospital, which was up top. We'd go down through the triple canopy jungle, work our way all the way through, spend the night, then come in and hit the lower Mal. So they had triple canopy, regular jungle, and mangrove swamp type of stuff. And they would go into just to kind of let them know, this is what it was like, boys. You know?
Yeah, that's all. And that's what it's like.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. That's why we train hard and to be prepared for that stuff. So, yeah, awesome advice.